Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtike Sri Caitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Nati Swapadantikam Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptana Gaupanki Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirveshasha Shanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Manchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhattacharya Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna, 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 Hare Hare.
We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam,
Krishna, Krishna,
Canto 2, Chapter 10. And we were on the text, which is look it up because I've lost the page. He lies down on the water known as Narayan, that we did, times and modes we did. Everything becomes, okay, so text 13.
Let's see the text. Huh?
I'll just, now?
Oh, yeah, now it's okay.
Okay, so let's begin. One moment, I'm sorry. Can't see it. I can't see it. Hold on. Okay, text 13. Eko nanatvam anvichan yoga talpat samuttitaha viryam hiran mayam devo mayaya vyasrajatridha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Lord, while lying on his bed of mystic slumber, generated the seminal symbol, golden in hue, through external energy out of his desire to manifest varieties of living entities from himself alone. In the Bhagavad Gita 9, chapter 9, text 7 and 8, the creation and annihilation of the material world are stated as follows. Sarva bhutani kaunteya prakritim yanti mamikam kalpashaye punastani kalpadav visrajami aham prakritim swam avastabhya visrajami punaha bhuta gramam imam kritsnam avasham prakritir vashat. At the end of each millennium, the creative forces, namely the material nature and the living entities who struggle in the material nature, all merge together into the transcendental body of the Lord. And again, when the Lord desires to manifest them, all of them are again displayed by the Lord. Therefore, the material nature is working under the control of the Lord. All of them under the agency of material nature and under the control of the Lord are thus repeatedly created and annihilated by the will of the Lord. So when Krishna desires, it's like when a child, he desires to bring out his toys. So he brings out all his toys and he starts playing. And then when he at some point he decides, okay, now enough of this play. So he'll put all his toys back in a box and put them inside. So similarly, when Krishna, when he decides, okay, now it's time for creation, he creates all this material energy is manifested. We can see the things. Now at a certain time, he decides, okay, let me bring it all in. And it all comes inside his body. And it still remains as individuals. We all still remain as individuals in his body. Like how we hear the story of Narada Muni. Narada Muni was telling Vyasadeva that how did he become Narada Muni. So in the previous day of Brahma, he told him that he was a boy, a son of a maidservant. And because he had done some service to some saints, to some devotees who had come there, his mother was maybe in a servant in a guest house or something. So it was Chaturmasya season. So these sages were staying there during the rainy season. And so Narada Muni would also help his mother. He was a small boy. And then he was, after taking their permission, he asked if he could eat the food that was left behind by them, something that they couldn't finish, their remnants. And they said, okay. And he was eating them. And then by eating the remnants, he got a desire also to hear from them. And so he would hear from them. And like that, he became a devotee just by hearing from them, So that's why just service to a devotee is so powerful. And then the sages left, and then his mother also died. But because he had already started his connection with Krishna, he didn't feel so much separation from his mother. He felt, anyway, it's time, It's good for me to let go of my attachments. And he was traveling all over the world fearlessly. He was just a small boy. And he was continuing to chant and, remember what the sages had told him. And like that, the Lord came in front of him. He saw the Lord and he got ecstatic symptoms with that. And then the Lord told him, okay, now you won't be able to see me again in this life. And soon the boy who was Narada Muni before in his previous life, he gave up his body. And then it was time for the annihilation. So everything entered in the body of Mahavishnu at that time. And he was staying there in the body of Mahavishnu. And then again, when it was time for creation, then he came out as Narada Muni. So like that, he was still an individual. It's not that he stopped being an individual. So same for us also. When we are in the body of Mahavishnu, it's like we are sleeping, but we are still individual. Like at night when we are sleeping, not that we all merge into each other. No, we are still individually sleeping. So same way. As such, before the creation or manifestation of the material cosmic world, the Lord exists as total energy, Mahasamsthi, and thus desiring himself to be diffused to many, he expands himself further into multi-total energy, Samasti. From the multi-total energy, he further expands himself into individuals in 3 dimensions, namely Adhyatmic, Adidaivic, and Adibhautik, as explained before, Vyasti. So here, how Krishna expands is given. How he expands, that Krishna is there. Everything exists in him. All the energies belong to him. Then at some point, he expands himself as his energy. He manifests his energies. And then he expands into different individuals, like the demigods, like our body, as we explained earlier. As such, the whole creation and the creative energies are non-different and different simultaneously. So we are one with the Lord, and yet we are different than the Lord. We are one. Why? Because we are of the same quality. We are same Satchidananda. Krishna is Satchidananda. We are Satchidananda. Like that, we are same and non-different. Why? Because he's a separate individual and we are separate individuals. That's how we are non-different. We are his parts and parcels. Because everything is an emanation from him, the Mahavishnu or Mahasamasti, nothing of the cosmic energies is different from him. But all such expanded energies have specific functions and display as designed by the Lord, and therefore they are simultaneously different from the Lord. The living entities are also similar energy, marginal potency of the Lord, and thus they are simultaneously one with and different from him. So we are one with the Lord. We have the same qualities that Krishna has, but in very minute quantities. 78% of the qualities that Krishna has, but those qualities in very minute, because we are so minute. We are tiny, tiny, and Krishna has those qualities unlimitedly. So like that, we are one and different, one and different. At the stage of non-manifestation, the living energies remain potent in the Lord. And when they are let loose in the cosmic manifestation, they are exhibited differently in terms of different desires under the modes of nature. So when there's no creation, we are all inside the body of the Lord. When the creation happens, because of the different desires of each individual, there's so many varieties of living entities, so many, birds, animals, worms, human beings, demigods, all because we have different desires, and so we are influenced by different modes of material nature, the Rajogun, Tamogun, and Sattvagun. Such differential manifestations of the living energies are conditional states of the living entities. The liberated living entities, however, in the Sanatan eternal manifestation, are unconditionally surrendered souls, and therefore they're not subject to the conditions of creation and annihilation. So the living entities who are living in the spiritual world, they are called liberated living entities. They are not conditioned, they are not bound. Liberated, why? Means they are free. Here in this material world, we are bound. Bound by what? By the modes of material nature. So in the spiritual world, those living entities, they're totally surrendered. So they are not subjected to take different bodies. Again, the body, like we are born and then we have to give up the body. No, they eternally exist in their Sachidananda, spiritual bodies. So this creation takes place by the glance of the Lord from his bedstead of mystic slumber, and thus all the universes and the Lord of the universe, Brahma, are again and again manifested and annihilated. So even Brahma, again and again, he's created, again destroyed, and all the universes and the total material creation is also like that. By the breathing of Mahavishnu. When he breathes out, all these unlimited universes come out and the creation takes place. When he breathes in, all the universes again go in his body, and then everything is unmanifest. Is that okay?
Yes, yeah, quite clear.
Okay. Text 14. Adhidevam athadhyatmam adhibhutam iti prabhuhu athaikam paurusham viryam tridhabhityata takshanu. Just hear from me how the potency of his lordship divides one into three, called the controlling entities, the controlled entities, and the material bodies in the manner mentioned above. So a few days ago, we heard that there are three types. Here, Adidevam. Adidevam are the controlling entities like the demigods who are in charge of the various our various functions of the body, and also the functions of the sun, the light, the moon, the air. Adidevam. Then Adhyatmam. Adhyatmam is we, the individual living entity. And Adhibhutam, Adhibhutam is our material body, which is made up of the different senses. So let's read on. Text 15. Anta Sharira Akashat Paurushasya Vichestataha Oja Saho Balam Jajne Tatha Prano Mahan Asuhu. From the sky situated within the transcendental body of the manifesting Mahavishnu, sense energy, mental force, and bodily strength are all generated, as well as the sum total of the fountainhead of the total living force. So here, step by step, Sukadev Goswami is mentioning how the creation is happening. You know, one step after another. So all he's saying that there is a sky, the ether, the sky which we are seeing outside is also inside the body of Mahavishnu. The sense energy, mental force, and bodily strength, they are all generated. So from the most subtle to the gross, we'll see how the creation is happening. 16. Anuprananti yam pranaha pranantam sarva jantushu apanantam apananti naradevam ivanugaha. As the followers of a king follow their lord, similarly, when the total energy is in motion, all other living entities move. And when the total energy stops endeavoring, all other living entities stop sensual activities. The individual living entities are completely dependent on the total energy of the Supreme Purusha. No one has the independent existence, just as no electric lamp has independent effulgence. Each and every electrical instrument depends fully on the total powerhouse. The total powerhouse depends on the reservoir of water for generating electricity. Water depends on the clouds depend on the sun depends on creation, and the creation depends on the movement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of all causes. So beautifully Srila Prabhupada is explaining that how Krishna is the cause of all causes. So everything like that we can see. Here he's giving an example of the light bulb. The light which is coming of the light bulb is because it is being powered by the powerhouse. The powerhouse is getting the electricity from the reservoir of water, for the water which is used for generating the electricity. Now this water is coming from the clouds because the water comes in the form of rains, right? And the clouds are formed when the sun evaporates the water. That's how clouds are formed. So then the clouds are depending on the sun, and sun is depending on the creation when Sri Krishna creates it. So similarly, we are thinking that we are independent and whenever I want, I can do anything. We don't realize that our energy is also dependent on the Supreme Lord. Everything is dependent. That's why we see sometimes, although a person might have all their limbs, but they're not able to function. The body cannot function. If we were in control, then why would that happen? So, but because everything happens so automatically, we are not able to see the hand of Lord, because actually we don't want to see it. So he covers himself. Text 17. Like for example, for us, we might see a shoe and it'll be like an ordinary shoe. But if the mother sees the shoe, she'll say, she'll immediately remember her son. That this shoe belongs to my son, you know, so she'll remember her son. So same way, we are seeing so many things, but because we don't remember Krishna, we do not have the love for him, so we can't remember him. But when a devotee sees all this material creation, because a devotee has love for Krishna, then immediately a devotee remembers Krishna, sees the hand of Krishna and everything. Text 17. Pranena Kshipata Shutra Antara Jayate Vipoho Pipasato Jakshatascha Pran Mukham Nirabhidyata. The living force, being agitated by the Virat Purusha, generated hunger and thirst. And when he desired to drink and eat, the mouth opened. The process by which all living beings in the womb of the mother develop their sense organs and sense perceptions appear to follow the same principles in the case of the Virat Purusha, the sum total of all living entities. Therefore, the supreme cause of all generation is not impersonal without desire. The desire for all kinds of sense perception and sense organs exist in the Supreme, and thus they take place in the individual persons. This desire is the nature of the Supreme Living Being, the Absolute Truth. Because he has the sum total of all mouths, the individual living entities have mouths. Similarly, with all other senses and sense organs. Here, the mouth is the symbolic representation of all sense organs, for the same principles apply to the others also. So why do we have senses? Because the Supreme Lord has senses, and in this material world, he has this Virat form, Virat Purusha, the universal form, which is the aggregate of everything we see. So we have one mouth and one pair of eyes, two eyes. So each of us has that as a human being. There are other living entities who have, more eyes. So, but all this total of the senses, they are in the Virat Purusha. Virat Purusha is the universal form of the Lord. And because they exist in the universal form of the Lord, that's why we have it. And because the universal form of the Lord has hunger, he has a desire to eat, he has a desire to drink, then we also have that desire. He has a desire for sense perception. Sense perception means we have these senses, eyes to see, ears to hear, mouth to speak. So it exists in the Lord, and that's why we have it. So nothing is impersonal. Everything exists in Krishna, and that's the reason we have those things.
Yeah, sorry, the Virat Purusha is only it exists only in the material world, correct?
That's right. Yes.
Right. Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
it's
this is what
temporary. Yes.
it's temporary. No?
Yes.
So the whole material nature, everything consists, right? It's the Virat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Text 18. Mukhatas nirbhinnam jiva tatropajayate tato nana raso jajne jiva yayo adhigamyate. From the mouth, the palate became manifested, and thereupon the tongue was also generated. After this, all the different tastes came into existence so that the tongue can relish them. So here we are seeing how one by one, everything, the creation is happening. So much detail Srimad Bhagavatam is giving us. This gradual process of evolution suggests the explanation of the controlling deities Adi-Deva, because Varuna is the controlling deity for all relishable juices. So here now they are saying how now Varuna also came. Varuna, like how, you see, it's all evolutionary from subtle to the gross, and how one by one everything is, the creation is happening. Therefore, the mouth becomes the resting place for the tongue, which tastes all the different juices, of which the controlling deity is Varuna. This suggests, therefore, that Varuna was also generated along with the development of the tongue. The tongue and the palate being instrumental are Adibhutam, or forms of matter. But the functioning deity, who is a living entity, is Adi-Deva, whereas the person undergoing the function is Adhyatma. So Adi-Deva is Lord Varuna, because he's the one who's controlling the tongue. We think we are controlling the tongue, that whenever I want to move my tongue, I can move it. But actually, Lord Varuna Dev, he is controlling it. And he's the Adi-Deva. And the tongue and the palate, they are just instruments. They are only instruments. For us, when we want to speak, so the tongue is an instrument to speak. We want to taste, so the tongue is an instrument to taste. And that is Adibhutam. Adibhutam. And we, the living entity, we are the Adhyatma. Thus, the three categories are also explained as to their birth after the opening of the mouth of the Virat Purusha. The four principles mentioned in this verse serve to explain the three main principles, namely the Adhyatma, Adideva, and Adibhutam, as explained before. So we'll see how one by one the controlling deities are also created, the instruments, which are the senses, are being created. And then based on, then various forms are also being created. And we, the living entities, are there, of course, who are undergoing this. So maybe we can stop here. Any questions or comments? Because this
I didn't think that you know how we are hungry. It's because that whole this thing, God is Lord is feeling hungry, so that's why we feel hungry, and all the senses we have is all due to
yeah. It's there in the universal form. Yeah, that's what. So true. We never think of these things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just are just so concerned over I mean.
I'm hungry. Okay,
Yeah.
so but it's not. I'm hungry. It's because he's hungry.
Yeah, their hunger exists in the Lord.
Lord.
Yeah. So dependent we are on him for everything. So because he gets hungry, we get hungry. Yeah, and like how when Arjuna saw the universal form of the Lord in Bhagavad Gita, he said that I'm seeing all these eyes,
Everything, the whole, the creation.
everywhere I'm seeing all these things, so I can't even imagine how this universal form looks.
That's why he was baffled, no? Let's
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, and that's why Krishna also gave him the special eyes. He said, with this eyes, you can't be able to see it. I will give you the special eyes to be able to see it. So
I just wanted to ask that, as mentioned in the 2.10.17, that when we are in the womb, like just because the Krishna had the desire to drink and eat and the mouth open, so is it the same with us also, that in the womb, like, so what are they trying to say with that, in the purport that if we have, because our mouth is also developed because we are hungry in the womb of mother, is it that, like, what it means?
you mean yeah.
Like, is it that
Process
what
by
they're
which
trying
all
to
living
say?
beings in the womb of the mother develop their sense organs and sense perception appear to happen to fall in the same Virat Purusha. So how one by one, how the Virat Purusha is because he is hungry and he's thirsty. So because he has that, so how if he's hungry, how will he eat? So he needs a tongue and a mouth to eat. So that's why it's generated. So same way in the womb of the mother, the living entity also one by one, how the senses are formed,
Okay, so it's in the same order, like of the Virat Purusha, because he also developed because Krishna also developed, the first is the mouth because of food and hunger. So like we also in the womb open our mouth and take in all the nutrients from is it like that?
Yeah, the
Okay.
process. It's written the process. So I guess
Yeah.
the process should be the same. Yeah.
Same, right?
In the fifth canto is more
Detailed.
detailed. Fifth
Okay, okay,
canto,
perfect.
how the child is in the womb, very detailed explained.
Okay. Okay, perfect. No problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for joining in today. Have a great day. Take care. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Srimad
Krishna.
Bhagavatam ki jai. Shila Prabhupada ki jai.